Okay, we're talking about Joe Cell again. This time I kind of want to merge a little bit of something else that I know that I've been studying and been into. Um, guys, first of all, I just want to say this. If I had the money right now, I'm waiting for these trusts to go through, and then I'll have all kinds of time to uh, experiment and do all these things on the side, um, just for fun. I don't want to make money off of them, but I would love if somebody can um, be kind of like a benefactor to me uh, for a couple of years until I get something working. Uh, if I ever get something working, I've studied these things quite a bit, and I know quite a bit about them. And I think I know enough that, for instance, like the Joe Cell and the Grevinnikov, the CSA, cavernous structure arrays, that he wrote a little book about back in the I think it was back in the 80s, and he stumbled upon this discovery back in, I think, in the 90s someplace, and it was a device. It was a flying platform. Grevinnikov from Russia. At the time, it was the Soviet Union. That must have been probably 1980s, I guess. I forget the time, but he devised this. He made a little motorcycle-looking thing. It's a platform with a stand and a couple devices that you can grip and levitate and go. Sort of like a UFO, I guess. If you want to bring a UFO technology into this, why don't you? However, I don't like the word technology. I like more like something occult. But they're kind of the same thing. Um, you know, I don't want to say God, but the before God, the before Father. Actually, I call him the before Father. No name for him, just before Father, Ether, whatever you want to call him. Uh, this is he designed this with a tremendous mathematical, basically formulas, and unimaginable knowledge uh, that makes you think that 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 physics are something that we have discovered and we found, but it's his stuff. He made it. He devised them. He made it available for the Father to grow everything basically. And before getting into philosophical stuff like that, it's like I wish that somebody would come along and just pay for my way around for the next couple of years. If anybody's out there that's got a ton of cash, huge amounts of cash, and you want to kind of just donate a little bit, I'm going to put up a link for probably a cryptocurrency wallet, and I'm going to put it on the video somehow. Probably like a QR code or something like that. And that way you can have access to that code, and then you can send a small amount of cash or whatever. And hopefully, if I'm free from the money problem, that I always seem to have a little bit of I'm always short with my crazy investments. It will I can continue the work. My mom's gone, and I don't have to. That used to take up a lot of time, but I'm gonna leave a link up above, someplace in the video. Okay, guys. Today I'm talking about Joe Cell and Grevinnikov. If you've ever read the CSE structure arrays book, it's kind of great reading if you want to learn more about the Joe Cell. It's kind of like basically the same thing. Um, where you have a structure resonating with different objects, different objects resonating a frequency, kind of like a guitar chord or a piano chord. You press one key, another one, and you get a chord. You know, you have 3 or 4 different keys playing a tone, and then what makes and gives a certain frequency that makes things happen. For instance, on the Joe Cell, it could make the Joe Cell, like in my previous video on the Joe Cell, I talked about the fellow that kept producing tea tree oil because he was using buckets previously for tea tree. So probably these buckets, by the way, most likely they were polyethylene. Polyethylene, yeah, has a certain structure to it that retains smell. For instance, if you've ever used a container of soap, even though you empty it, you put bleach in it and you clean it out a million times, you smell it and it still has that smell. It still smells like powder. So this fellow probably had the frequency of the tea tree injected into the water that he was using for the Joe Cell, so he kept getting all of his tea tree oil out. He was reproducing it. The cell was reproducing the stuff. Now, can you take... Is he going to need tea tree oil ever again for his nursery business? Probably not, because he's got a Joe Cell that's reproducing the stuff left and right. Can he reproduce something else? I mean, gold or, some... then we go into the wine at the party that where Christ was, and he was able to come up with this fantastic tasting wine, choice wine, that out of thin air, basically. They filled the jars, the jugs, and whatever he did, blessed it and did something with his, or his magic wand, and he turned it into wine, and a very good wine. What's in the jar? What's the jar? Was it holding choice wines before, perhaps, or did he made it out of just jugs that were just holding water for a long time? And the shape of a jug, it's round. They're usually shaped in heart. They have like a heart type shapes. And that seems to be what, round. If we ever, what's that called? The Faraday cage. If we ever talk about Faraday cages, probably usually we know that they're boxes with aluminum foil, or sheet, some kind of metal, and it preserves that energy in there. Much more efficient probably would be something like balls packed with Faraday cage type arrangement, and usually a ball like a heart shape, sort of like a shield. Yeah, you have like heart shape like this. Those are, your typical jugs. I don't have anything here that I can show you, but you know what I mean. Those old types jugs, narrow at the top, big bottom, and and the flat bottom. And is that producing some kind of retaining that energy for use? Another fellow that brings to mind is the Ormus people, David Hudson, that came up with this Ormus, and it was made more public with other people experimenting with it, and they talk about the same type of effects that you probably would find in a Joe Cell or perhaps the Grevinnikov platform, flying platform. Do they have some kind of a common, something that's basic, common design, let's say? Where, for instance, on the Joe Cell, you have one cell on the outside and three smaller tubes. Actually, that's what they are. They're tubes. Joe calls them plates, but they're tubes. Plate is a very thick metal, but in the U.S. we call plates thick metal. Thinner metal, there's sheet metal, and then there's foil. So these plates are kind of like between sheet. Actually, it's not sheet, but it's a very thick sheet. And yeah, you can probably call them plates because they're usually thick, and they're not thin. It's not sheet metal on the Joe Cell, by the way. It has to be a certain thickness. I'll talk about dimensions another time. So, is there some kind of a common thing between the Ormes people and David Hudson and Barry Carter was one of the promoters of Ormus. They're all dead, by the way, the Ormus people. It never got anywhere. It never really went anywhere. Everybody was involved in selling the stuff. And when you sell something to make money, it's like the energy is just removed. The best thing is to do it yourself and with your own hands for your own purposes. To sell to other people, nah, give it to them. That's what we do in the world. We sell. Everything we do is, we prostitute out because we don't have the mindset. I don't want to say technology, but the intuition to come up with something different. We don't have that anymore. It's like it's all lost. It's all fairy tales now. And I also I'm also yeah. Here we go. Yeah, where we go. A little dusty. I made my own stuff. Ormus or Ormes or whatever you want to call it. This particular batch was made in 2022. Dead sea salt, regular water, rinse 3 times, milk of magnesia, MOM. Yeah, you mix it too, and you get this. So I've tinkered, I played around with this stuff like crazy. I never really ingested this, except a couple times, just a little bit. I don't know. For some reason, I never did. And there's more to it. There's a lot more to it. But I got tons of this stuff all over the house. I used to make it all the time for some reason. I don't know why. I just did. So I got to see how it's made. It's the experimenter in me. They make movies about this stuff just for, I don't know, to mock people that in the know, I guess. I don't know. But among the 3 of them, there's a common thing about him. Like on the Grevinnikov platform, he talked about the arrays of these cells that he used for the wings. He used for the platform. They were underneath the wings of the insects that he found in a certain time, in a certain period, in a certain year, in Siberia, I believe it was. This is Grevinnikov. I forget his first name. Sergey. Okay, doesn't matter. So he looked in a microscope, at these arrays of cell arrays, and he says he could not draw them on paper because they were like 5-chambered structures, and he could never, for some reason, even though he was an artist, by the way, he said he could never draw the way that these cells were made. Maybe there was a reason why. Maybe he said it on purpose that he couldn't do it just so people wouldn't know, but he wanted people to know also. Maybe it was not meant for anyone to know yet. It was not designed for other people to know how these arrays were formed. A lot of people speculated that if you can copy the structures, that you could get the same results if you made sheets and things like that, and roll them off an assembly line, so to speak. But I don't think that could ever work like that. It has to be your own input, your own energy, and that's what turns these things on and off. Sometimes it's not meant to be for some people. But there is a similarity. If you ever get across, check out the Grevinnikov CSE structure arrays. He made a book. I do have the little booklet. It's probably out in the internet. It talks about flight and his discovery. In one of the chapters, he describes the platform and how it was to make it lift and zoom through the skies at, I don't know, I think he said 1,800 miles per hour or something like that. And he didn't want to go more. He said that he could go even faster, and he would not, because he was afraid of his platform being too fragile. But there was no air hitting him. There was like he described it as a carving of the atmosphere that he could just go through without his hair getting messed up or anything. So that's really odd. You would think that you're going to get a lot of wind at 1,800 miles per hour, but apparently not. Apparently you can go through air. With the physics that we have today, you're not supposed to do that. So he probably never read the book about the restrictions on how fast you can go. And the same thing with the Joe Cell. It's like meant to be. I wanted to bring something up also. If you ever heard my story about my sister's car that didn't use fuel just about. I remember driving the car, and I remember it's like, the gas wasn't going. It's really good on gas. For some reason, I had to drive it out there to her, where she lived in a suburb. And one thing I always remember when I drove that car, it was you would put it in drive. The engine was super smooth. It was a really quiet car, really nice. Although it had that velour type interior, which kind of I don't like. But anyways, there was cars in the late 70s, early 80s. They had that velour. I don't know. But it was very quiet and very, very stable motor. It was a beautiful motor, even though it was a 6-cylinder. But it was one of the Buick's best motors that they produced. General Motors ever produced. It was a V6. I remember stepping on the accelerator. All you had to do is just a little bit, and the car would go. I never had to press it. It was just a little bit, and it would go. In the highway, press it, and boom, it would take off fast. It was fast. I never pushed it, but you hardly had to step on the accelerator on that freaking car. All my other cars, it's like, come on, let's go. Accelerator all the way down just to get on the expressways and stuff like that. But this one, just a little bit, and it would just go. So no, it didn't have a Joe Cell on it, but something was going on, and so basically, what I'm saying is, get yourself these books from these guys, and you would see a certain correlation between all three of them. Yeah, it's something you really have. If you're into this stuff, it's like you gotta get this, because then you see certain characteristics, certain things that you did not see otherwise. Certain similarities between this Grevinnikov and his platform and this Joe Cell with his cars and his diesel engines that run and run and run without fuel. And the other thing about the Joe Cell car, there was a guy who had a pickup truck, an F-150, I think it was, a Ford F-150, and Joe said that the car would actually lift off the ground. It would run like any other car, but it would be like I think he said 1 inch to 2 inches between the tire and the ground. Tires would spin regularly, they would turn regularly, but the car was lifted off the ground a couple inches. He could stick his hand in there, and it's like it's off the ground. Do I believe it? Probably. Joe didn't have a reason to lie. He wasn't that kind of. He wasn't a joker, He didn't joke around like his partner Peter Stevens. He's always with that laugh. If you ever see his tapes, it's like Peter's annoying with that laugh, but he's okay. But Joe was, it's like he didn't like the jokes, but he hung around with the jokers, he called them. I love to see Joe and his group, all the guys, and Barry Hilton and all those guys that drove him crazy. But but yeah, if you ever get a chance, get that look into the Grevinnikov flying platform. It's exciting. To me, it's exciting reading, because it's like, he did what? He went what? And then you start seeing things differently. He was into insects. What's the word for entomologist? Oh, I think it was. And that's how he discovered this. And then he wrote a book back in I think it was like 20 years before that. He wrote a book about flight, and there he was flying through the city in a winged suit of an insect. And it's funny, because that's what happened to him. Now, did he do a little unexpectedly? Did he created the magic for him to have all the knowledge and the certain things come to be, where he discovers these things, and then he's flying off at the middle of the night, through the city, and his word came true, kind of like You know, it's magic, basically. Is that what it is? Is that what Joe came upon? Maybe David Hudson might have run into it. Okay, I think that's the talk for the Joe Cell today. I'm going to bring my cell out and take a few pictures of it, and I might take it apart or something just so you guys can see it. It's in the basement someplace. I haven't touched it, and I wonder what's it gonna do if I put a. There's another story that I have. I don't know if I should tell you guys this. I mean, I can't prove it, but okay, I'll tell you the story anyway. So, you know what? I'll tell you this story in another video. I don't want to make this one too long. For some reason, I can't do longer videos. Okay, I'll talk to you soon, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.